start recording. Hey everyone, it's Tina McGlynn with Life and Stories, and it's New Year's Day 2021. And today I have a special guest, Chris Verg. I roped her into coming in because if you guys follow my personal Facebook page, Fran and I have a new addition to our family called Toby McGlynn. Adorable 10-pound bundle of joy, and we wouldn't have had him if it wasn't for this woman, Chris Vergallito. I always say your name wrong. You say your last name for me.
Vergallito.
And so Chris Vergallito, she is the ops manager over at Manatee County Animal Services, and she reached out to us and said, I have the perfect dog for you, and she does. But I don't want to talk about that yet. The real story is, I want to know how somebody, when I first met Chris, she was working for Progressive Insurance. I was real busy back then, and all of a sudden I turn around and you have moved to Utah. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I have worked with animals, specifically dogs, but I've had exposure to parrots and cats as well.
Oh, parrots.
Mm-hmm. I used to have a Goffin cockatoo for many years.
Okay.
I grew up with animals. Surprisingly, my mom and dad are not really animal people, but my brothers and I just, we pestered them until we got
what you wanted.
But over the years, I knew that I wanted to make money and have things and go places, and I did that for 15 years. And along the way, I found 2 to 3 days a week to work in animal welfare as a volunteer, working with dogs, taking care of cats, and I knew that I had a love for animals, but also I liked the scientific and the behavioral aspect of their behaviors.
Okay.
And so on the side, I took a lot of training. I watched people and mentored. I shared my time at a variety of animal welfare locations to learn from a variety of people and get exposure to many animals. And after 15 years of doing a job and making a lot of money, I said, okay, I'm ready to throw it all away and give my life to the animals. And I started to apply, and I applied first to the best of the best, Best Friends Animal Society, and they saw the skills and the charm that I had to offer, and they hired me. And
Awesome.
I believe I was the first operations manager that did not come up the ranks of Best Friends, first outsider, and they treated me that way when I first came, but I made my way through it, and I enjoyed every second of it, and the years that I spent there were worth a lifetime of experience. And that's pretty much it. I went to Utah, where it was like Mars to me. Never had so much sand and everything, but my dogs loved it. There was a lot of Bureau of Land Management land to run on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was enjoyable, and it's gorgeous there. I spent a ton of time hiking them when I wasn't working, and honestly, I met people from all over the world. Plus, I worked with dangerous dogs and cats occasionally, but I did see dogs from the Indian reservation. There were 100,000 Indian reservation dogs around us, and they come with a lot of illnesses because they don't get vaccinated, they don't get spayed and neutered. So being exposed to that, I always tell people at the shelter, I've seen that. I know what that is.
Oh, yeah, so experience.
Yeah, so the experience of things that you wouldn't get in, Tampa, Florida.
Right,
okay. So the learning experience and the exposure, and the people that I met all over the country and the world also added to my personality. Now, I feel like I can talk to anyone, and, any problem they bring forward, it's like, yeah, I've heard that, I've seen that, and that's because of my time at Best Friends.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was, so amazed when I heard you moved to Utah, and I'm like, well, that's really cool. I mean, I've only been to Zion and Bryce.
It's beautiful.
Red, yeah. I mean, Fran and I took a trip up there, and it was gorgeous. And, I just thought that was really awesome. It's following, your heart, and, I'm always telling people, do what you love, and it's never a job.
Yes.
So how, tell us how you landed at Manatee. How long have you been there?
I've been there for almost 2 years now.
Oh, wow. Went by quick?
Yes, it went by really quick. So, really, once I decided that I got what I came for at Best Friends, I did what I came to do, I met the people that I wanted to meet. I knew, even before I went to Best Friends, that I would take my experiences to a frontline shelter and help raise them up. So I applied all over the country, and in the end, I landed at Manatee, because Manatee is in a 60-year-old building with a staff that is amazing, but no one's brought them the skill set that they deserve to have. And the animals are street animals, tethered animals, abandoned animals, confiscated animals, it's not like working in the Hamptons.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not. Yeah.
So there's a lot of needs there and a lot of behavior problems because of the way that the animals are kept by individuals. Now, I'm not saying that all people who have animals in Manatee are bad people. That is certainly not the case, because I've met many that I love, and I'm so happy they've adopted from us. But the animals we come in, 90% of them are strays, and we have no history, but the behaviors are the same over and over again. So there is definitely some consistency in the behaviors and the type of animals we're seeing versus the animals in Utah or the animals in Ohio or, wherever else I have worked. So I knew that they needed me. Whether they knew they needed me or not was still to be seen. But they knew that if I worked for Best Friends, I had to have something good to offer. Yeah. And I came in, and now I've been working with the same exact staff for 2 years, and that's almost unheard of in animal welfare, to keep your whole staff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we're thrilled. We got Toby, which we just couldn't. He's just the perfect dog for us, and we were looking for something to love because we're not gonna have any grandchildren anytime soon, and we just and he was definitely, and we're adamant about getting a rescue, just because
which I'm so happy for, because I would have to put you in my trunk if you got.
Yep, I knew that. Yep, and so would Cheryl. But I would just never think of it. I don't think I've never bought a dog, or never, just never needed to. Luckily, I've been, fortunate, and I'm not downplaying anybody that does, but obviously it's always nice to be able to go into a rescue and find a dog that fits our lifestyle. We're going to be traveling on an RV, so we need something small. I gave you my wish list, and it was I tell everybody it's Christmas miracle, because you went into the work and then there he was.
Yes, and that happens a lot, where someone kind of gives me their list, and we might not have it at the moment, but I'll look for it. And I've matched quite a few people and animals up with the help of my wonderful staff. They're all amazing. We want to match make, because that leads to a successful adoption, not someone who has an animal that they regret having, or it's too much for their abilities. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need to get you somebody that's going to make you happy, and the animal will be happy. And it's wonderful to see the pictures that come in later, and the lives that some of these animals who were in terrible living conditions before they came to us are now living in swimming pools and living in the Keys, and
and they're groomed.
They're
well fed.
It's awesome to see that. That's what makes my life just fulfilled, because all of the sadness that we see, all of the disgust for what human nature does to their animals, which is research says is connected to children as well. How they behave towards the animals a lot of times is a reflection of what they'll do with children. So it hurts my heart a lot, but then I see these wonderful outcomes, and that's what keeps me going, is those wonderful outcomes, which is a little bit different than Best Friends, because Best Friends is a no-kill facility to the nth degree. No one there, no matter how dangerous the animal is, or where they came from, will stay and provide some type of life. Well, obviously that's not possible in a county animal shelter. So we have to make decisions. Now, we make very, very difficult, heart-filled decisions every day on the animals. Now, luckily, my shelter has the 94% live release rate.
Good.
So for a county shelter, that's pretty darn amazing.
Good.
And my staff and I do our best to rehab who we can rehab, and that's not that typical for a county animal shelter. So I was glad that I was able to come and bring my knowledge and abilities to them. And, I'm really fond and very skilled with Rottweilers and German Shepherds, and we get a lot of those. And I think quite a few of them would not have made it out if it wasn't for me and my staff and what we've been able to do. So.
And then obviously Toby came to us neutered. And so that's important,
too. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I return animals to owners all the time, and we do a service where if you are willing to let us neuter, spay, microchip, vaccinate your animal, we will let you this first time go without a fee.
Yeah.
In exchange for doing the right thing.
Yep. Yeah.
The people who accept that, just make me happy, and we're going to get that animal out there and not have them reproducing, because if anybody knows anything about cats and dogs, you can reproduce a lot of animals in a lifetime. And for those that don't want to do that, I always ask them, well, why not? And there are various reasons, but a lot of them say, well, I want to see the miracle of life, or I want my animal to have puppies, or I want to sell them. And I always offer to walk them around the shelter and show them how many unwanted, who used to be puppies and kittens, there are sitting at our shelter every day that no one has come for, to try to convince them differently. But I'm a big advocate for spay and neutering, of course, and obviously vaccinations too. You know, a year ago we had 32 cases of parvo that didn't come from our shelter; they came from the community. And if you have a puppy that is not properly vaccinated, parvo is a killer.
Yeah, we had a dog in Oklahoma, and we were so heartbroken.
Oh, it's terrible, and it's expensive. If you're going to try to treat them on your own, it's expensive, and the animal may not live. And then he died anyway.
And so it was, and the kids were young. It was
it's sad.
I never want to go through that again. It was horrible.
And I feel like people should know there are options out there, especially the humane societies with clinics in Tampa, as well as down in Manatee. They can offer low-cost spay-neuter, can offer low-cost vaccinations. There are vaccination clinics that go around to the CVS's and the Walgreens, you know, for inexpensive. But nobody should not have the ability to do that.
So there are, you know, so they can just call up their county wherever they're living, and they probably have a program like, and then you also mentioned Friends of Manatee. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we have a 501c associated with us. We call them FOMAS, or Friends of Manatee County Animal Services. And we are so lucky to have them. And I believe in Hillsborough County they have the equivalent here as well. I spent some time in our animal shelter here in our county. What they do is they build up a donation pool from various events and individuals so that they can provide that extra care medically for our animals. Possibly someone needs to go to the cardiologist, or a skilled surgeon who is not the type of surgeon we have in our own facility will need to take, a leg or something off of an animal or fix it. I mean, there are a lot of injuries that come with these animals because they're out on the streets roaming around a lot of times. There are times where, like just recently, they paid for one of our dogs that's 8 years old. He's an awesome dog. He had a tumor behind his eye.
Aww.
And it was making him only be able to breathe out of one nostril, plus, of course, the pressure of the tumor. Now, a county animal shelter could say, beyond our means, nobody wants to adopt, goodbye. And we didn't want to do that. So we went to our Friends of group and asked for help, and he went and had surgery, and he is doing fantastic. He's like a brand new dog. So they also pay for 100 to 150 heartworm treatments a year, because there are a lot of people that don't understand heartworm preventative and how important it is here in Florida. And there are people who just don't think they can afford it. So when they come into the shelter, we commit to treating those animals at least at this stage of their life. And the Friends of group pays for that.
Awesome. No, that's awesome.
They're pretty amazing. They've done so much for our animals. We had a dog that was suffering terribly. His skin condition was just beyond what a normal person probably could have handled, even if he wasn't at the shelter. And we were able to take him to a dermatologist at Blue Pearl, work for a year through allergy shots and different things, and he is gorgeous today, living a wonderful life.
Because we have a lot of allergens. Thank you. Yeah, in Florida because of our.
It's a big problem here, and to get to the bottom of it, it's hard. It's like with people illnesses. Sometimes you have to try this, you have to try that, you have to see this doctor or that doctor until you find what the solution is that really can be long lasting. And Friends of has been able to help us get that for one of our animals.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. And so tell me about the way the adoption process works. Is it typical for every county? Do they all have the same process?
I don't know, because this is the first county shelter that I've actually worked for. I mean, I volunteered with the Hillsborough's Animal Services, which is called PRC. And I was more in the enrichment, exercise, training portion of it, so I didn't really get involved in the front of the house. But I would have to say they're probably similar if they're the size county that we are, or bigger. Smaller counties, I don't really know. But basically what happens is, and COVID changed everying, I'll be honest with you, Tina.
I'm
COVID
sure it did.
has completely tossed everything up in the air, and where it's landed is not what we expected. In many ways, of course, my heart goes out to anyone who's lost someone or have been sick. But for us, in some ways, it has been a game changer. And I'm thankful to say that versus the other way, because we just didn't know what to expect last March when everything changed. So now our shelter is closed to the public, and people hear that and panic, but actually our adoptions are better.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because, first of all, the mental state of the animals is better, not having 100 people walking up and down the aisles, poking and looking at them and selecting them based on their look.
Okay.
Versus what the right match is for them and their household.
Yeah.
So now they fill out some information online. We take a look at it. They make an appointment with that, and that ensures that someone is prepared to meet them at their allotted time and help them find the right animal. Whereas before, 100 people walk around and we would ask questions of whoever we saw, but maybe that wasn't the person that we really needed to be speaking to, and then they walked out the door without us ever knowing that they were there, because it was just overwhelming. Too many people. And I think the animals, just seeing that many animals at one time, is very overwhelming.
Sure.
When I was at Hillsborough's Animal Service, I used to hear that all the time. I went in and there were 400, 500 animals, and I just couldn't even concentrate on one. I just left.
Yeah.
So what we do is we take the person into the yard. We ask them what their parameters are. We know a little bit of information online. My staff and I will be in the hallway looking at the list of animals that we have, writing out who we think we should show them, and some outliers that it could be, maybe we're going to on a whim throw this one in. And it is a great process because people don't know what they want.
Sure.
They don't always know what they want. I mean, I think they know what they want, but then we show them what they really should have and would want.
And then their idea of the perfect pet might change. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. And I see that especially when they say they want a young dog or a puppy, and then I hear what their lifestyle is, and I'm like, oh, you need like a 3 or 4 year old maybe, and they don't think that. But when I start bringing out the puppies and I bring out the 4-year-olds, they're like, oh yeah, that's way too much for me.
It's like a baby.
And then we have a cat adoption center downtown Bradenton that does the same thing. As they bring in the appointments, our cats are mostly free roaming down there, and individual condos. They're really large. Several of them have outdoor access. The staff down there know the cats, and they match them up with the right match there. So we do the dogs up at in our Palmetto facility, and then downtown Bradenton at our cat adoption centers where they do that. But the process is the same. We make an appointment, we get to know the person, and we show them what we have. And then if there is no one that matches their needs on site at the time, then we keep them logged into some documents that we have, and we keep brainstorming. And I have called people back and said, I've got something for you, come on in. And they really like that,
Yeah, it's
we're
like a
still
personal
thinking
service.
about them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I would think that the adoptions are more successful, that you're not getting them back,
They're as successful as they can be, knowing human nature.
Yeah.
What I want today is maybe not what I thought I wanted after I spent some time with an animal at home, and I haven't had one for 13 years,
Sure. Yeah.
But I would say when looking at the process, it is probably the most successful we've ever been in matchmaking, the most successful adoptions, and we get to know the people. It also helps us too that if the adoption fails for whatever reason, we've made a relationship with the person, and so they can bring them back, not just dump them on the streets. We can talk through it and set that animal up the next time for something different, something that fits everyone's needs to the best of our abilities. And sometimes too, people will call us and we talk them through a problem. Okay, calm down. This is normal.
Yeah, sure.
Don't worry. Send me a video.
Too bad we can't do that with humans.
That's right. Send me a video of what they're doing, and then myself and I have we have a trainer on staff besides myself, and I will get her in her few spare minutes of the day to give them a call and try to talk them through some solutions. And sometimes we do via email where we send, here's what I'm hearing, let me ask you some questions. They send back the information, and that way they have it written down from us as well. And we've saved some animals that way too, keeping that relationship going, and then helping the person help the animal, and then they can move forward. And we've actually had a dog lives on a boat, ate through the boat wall and jumped off the boat.
Oh my gosh.
And you would think, oh my gosh, that's it, this is over. Yeah, actually isn't. We've been working with the person, and the animal and the owner are learning about each other, and we are helping them through this, and we're still going.
Good.
So in the past, I would think that dog, his name is Titan, would have just been dropped at a door saying like, I can't
deal with it,
you know, and fortunately the people are willing to work with us, and if we want to work with them, and it's going in the right direction. So save there, because him coming back to the shelter, every time an animal, a cat or a dog comes to our door, it has to learn new people and go to another place and try to trust again and get comfortable, and then come back to the shelter and do this over and over. You know, that's when we start seeing behavioral issues popping up, because their life just has been inconsistent for so long that they no longer trust anything's going to be normal, and they start to get anxiety. And as humans that have anxiety, you can imagine living with different people all the time. You know, they feed you different food, they talk to you different, they give you a different place to go to the bathroom. You know, how would you like that as a person, Tina?
Yeah, no, I mean,
you wouldn't like that. No. Not having your own things consistently. You had this bed, now today you don't have this bed.
I mean, change is hard for humans, so it's got to be equally as hard for canines.
Well, some of them can't communicate in a way that is meaningful to their adopter. I feel like my staff and I understand a lot about our animals and what they're doing and what they're saying and the changes that they're going through. But your average person doesn't go to school and learn that
Learns
stuff.
that, sure.
You know?
Yeah.
They do things such as petting the animal while they're eating and think that's the way it's supposed to be. That's a myth. And so the animal starts to get growly because you're touching me while I'm eating, and then we soon have a problem. You know, that's not something people
would think about.
You know. Yeah. So they send me a video, and I go, first of all, stop touching the dog while
he's eating. Yeah.
He's
Can you
eating.
imagine petting you while you're eating?
And I'll be like, do you hear me? Please stop, because I'm going to come over and pet you while you're eating. And usually people are like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, Miss Chris. You know, and we go from there. But you know, I only am there to help them. Most of the time, I'm not there to judge unless they're really doing something bad, and then, you know, that's a different story. But I'm not there to judge. I'm there to help.
Yeah.
You know, and if they can be educated by us and are willing to think outside of what their knowledge is currently, then I'm happy to do whatever I can to make this work.
Good. Yeah. I just, you know, I was thinking that maybe some people want that nostalgia from maybe their childhood. Sure. But the experience of having a dog when you're a child and your parents are mostly probably, you know, taking care of it as your own adult, you know. And that's why I, resisted getting a dog for a while, because, you know, I personally was all over the place. And now I'm a little bit more settled. And that's when I said to Fran, because they've been, you know, Fran and Adon, they've been asking me for years. Right. Can we get, get a dog? And I'm like, no, you know. And we always had dogs growing up. When we moved to Florida, we ended up having cats because they were so much easier to deal with, you know, my kids to take care of, you know. And now that it was just the right time, and that's when I said, okay, we can get a dog, because we're at that lifestyle where we're going to be traveling in an RV, and we wanted a smaller dog, so we could, you know, obviously manage, you know, the dog in the RV while we travel. So I was definitely aware that, you know, in years prior was not conducive for us to have a dog, because it was just sitting in the house, and I, you know, wasn't comfortable with that. So, but yeah, we're thrilled with Toby McGlynn. I just love that name.
Yeah, it's a great name.
It is.
Well, and you know, Toby comes from kind of a sad situation. I, you know, he was with a loving family, which is not usually what our animals are coming from. But unfortunately, they had some issues where they could no longer have Toby where they were living, and were devastated. But you know, we were there as a landing spot to assure them we were going to take care of Toby and find him, you know, the best place we could for him, and he would be loved, and they shouldn't worry about that. And you know, hopefully that gave them a little sense of comfort, because that's got to be hard, you know, for anyone that does that. And you know, COVID did have a negative impact on a lot of people, as you guys know, but we just saw the I'm not sure if it's called a moratorium for evictions, was going on for a long time, and then in October the evictions rolled out. Right. And a lot of people who should have known what was going to eventually happen were in a panic of, what do I do now? There were quite a few people that have landed on the streets and couldn't take their animals. So there was a period of about 3 weeks where the owned animals from evictions were rolling in. And my heart was broken, because I can offer you a crate, I can offer you food, maybe some minimal health care, but I can't pay your rent. Right. You know, there's nothing. And even the agencies that will offer money for rent will only carry you for a month, but if you haven't paid for 6 months, I just don't see how you're going to catch up. So we had a lot of displaced animals. Now, fortunately, there are only a few still at the shelter that haven't been rehomed with other people who were able to be stable during the coronavirus. But for me, every day when I saw these owned animals being torn away from their owners, I just about lost it, because that's not how it should be.
No.
But this is a year of unlike any year that I've known. So.
Yes.
We did our best to find them placements with other people, but still they had to start a life over, and some of them were 10 years old, and lived with the same person their whole life. So that's definitely something we've dealt with this year that was unexpected. Is once the evictions happened, I was shocked to see that people didn't have a plan, or thought it was going to be okay, or thought the government was going to help them more. And unfortunately, you just can't.
It didn't happen. Yeah, that's
can't
sad. That's sad. Well, I thank you for coming today.
It was my pleasure.
I know, because I kind of strong-armed you. I'm like, okay, let's talk about Toby and how we got him.
Yes, and Toby is one of many animals that is in need of a home out there.
Yeah.
If you're interested in finding out, what your county animal shelters have to offer, go on their websites and take a look at the animals. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay, here's what I need. Can you kind of lead me to who would work for me, and then I can pick out from there, because when I go into your shelter, it's just too many animals.
Sure.
And too
Oh
many,
yeah, it would be, and it, like I said, it is quite chaotic, but yeah, just asking for help, because you want that to be a good relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I want people to trust that we will help them if they want the help the best that we can, and that if they've made mistakes and they ask for help, that I'll be there to help them the best that I can. I mean, we are a county facility, but there may be something I can do to help them other than take their animal in and have to rehome them. But don't automatically think that we're just the pound, because that's not what we are.
Yeah.
I have a heart for even those that don't think so. I have a heart.
We know
and
you
I am
do.
there to catch these animals, and my staff and I love them. And I have some of the best staff members that you could ask for. So we are working very hard for our county to give these animals the best life we can.
Good. I like that. And like I said, Toby's going to be spoiled here.
I know that. I know it. I'm
we
really
love
happy.
him. But thanks so much, Chris, for joining me.
Sure.
And this is Tina McGlynn with Life and Stories. Stay tuned next week while I talk with Jennifer from Jen's Market. Okay. Happy New Year, folks.
Happy New Year.